Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Garrett Kramer. I'm the VP of Sales over at Resorts and Lodges and Track Hospitality Software, and I have one of my favorite people in the world here joining us, Doug Kennedy, President of Kennedy Training Network. We're going to be talking today about best practices for voice reservations follow-ups, how to convert 20% more guests to inquiries. And we all want to convert more inquiries. We all want to capture more bookings. We all want to be more profitable. So this is a highly relevant webinar. I think there's going to be some great content. You know what? Scratch that. I know there's going to be some dynamite content because every time we bring Doug in, he delivers. On the side, I call him the mailman for specifically that reason. But we are so excited to have him here. Before I introduce Doug, I'm going to take, say, maybe 60 seconds here and just tell you a little bit about Resorts and Lodges and about Track Hospitality Software and what we're here about. If you don't know of us, Doug, if you want to flip over to the next slide for me. If you don't know of us, we've been around the industry since 2001. We have 3 business units. We have a listings marketplace called resortsandlodges.com that we drive over 8 million visitors a year to. Getting traffic to our customers. We have a digital marketing agency in-house as our business solutions team that does conversion optimization, search engine optimization, pay-per-click, reputation management, strategy, blogging, website creation and development for a lot of our customers. And of course we have the software, the Track Hospitality side, which is all about lead optimization, lead conversion, revenue management, and making the most out of those marketing dollars that you're spending. If you have any interest in having any conversations about any of those solutions, my information is going to pop up here at the end. Otherwise, you can call me direct at 651-757-4910. But without further ado here, let me get to the introduction. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to KTN President, Doug Kennedy. He is the lodging industry's leading expert in lodging industry reservation sales, having conducted training for top-tier companies across all market segments for over 2 decades. I know he doesn't look it, but
Thank you for having that.
His hotel clients have ranged from 5-star hotels such as the Venetian Las Vegas with over 7,000 rooms to small luxury inns such as Castle Hill Inn in Newport, Rhode Island at 35 rooms. He has extensive experience in training non-traditional segments such as resorts, inns, lodges, and vacation rental companies. Over the years, Doug has conducted corporate-sponsored training for most of the major hotel brands, including Starwood, Wyndham, Marriott, Hilton, Intercontinental, and leading hotels of the world. His monthly hotel sales and guest service training articles inspire readers worldwide. Kennedy Training Network is our marketing alliance partner, and we are so pleased to provide this 2017 webinar series as a value-add feature for our clients, our prospects, and the industry at large. So without further ado, let me introduce you and let me give a warm welcome to KTN President Doug Kennedy.
All right, thank you, Garrett. That was a great introduction.
Thank you.
Wonderful to be here reaching out today. We have over, last I saw, about 130 locations signing up worldwide. So whether you're in a nice warm place where I am in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, or up in Minnesota where I love to be in the summer, I welcome you to our webinar. I have been working with Track now since Track Hospitality Software since it was the inception a couple of years ago. I've referred many of you on the webinar today are my clients that I've referred to Track that I know have got great results. We're going to talk today about getting 20% more bookings from following up. And I know, Garrett, you've got some best practices. You have interviews at your blog where people actually get more from following up on leads. Also, you mentioned the digital marketing services. The website you see on the screen there is actually a website built by the Resorts and Lodges digital marketing team. So it's been a great relationship. Some of you are Track customers that have joined us in the educational series that we do about every other month. We do a live webinar just for Track and Resorts and Lodges clients. some of your resorts and lodges clients, which I think is a wonderful marketing tool to reach out to a new customer, and that's what we want to do with our online marketing, make them our customer though. It's a wonderful model. And of course, all the others that have joined us today, because you've been so generous, Garrett, to sponsor this educational webinar really for the entire industry at large. So let's get into it.
The slides aren't advancing on our side. I'm not seeing the slides advance, no.
You don't see the poll question yet?
No.
All right. Well, let me work on that while we have, we're going to have polling today. Let me try this again now and see if it comes up. Now, oh, my screen is paused. That must be why.
There we go.
That must be what that pause button does. So anyways, well, they didn't get to see my wonderful website, so let me go back and show that, because I did think you all did a great job. So you're seeing it now, Garrett?
Yeah, absolutely.
I knew I kept you around for a reason. See, that's why. Anyways, well, welcome again, everybody. And I do want to go back and show the other slides here, the Resorts and Lodges team. We'll leave that up for a moment. We're going to be doing some online polling today, so about 3 or 4 stops in the webinar. Today, anyway, she's my assistant. She's actually the marketing director for Track and Resorts and Lodges, but Elise is going to be doing some polling. So we're going to get started on that here in just a moment. And Garrett, I do have your contact information at the end for those who are interested. So the first thing I want to try to get to know is, what is your current role at the property? So Elise is going to launch the online poll here, and if you will please go to the polling feature and select, let us know what your role is. And so this is going to help me figure out a little bit about how, how to hopefully customize my content here. All right. So I'm going to open my polling. So the polling is coming in. So whether you are a president or owner, so far we got about 12% of you in that. Whether you are in a management role, a leader of your team, whether you are frontline agents who are actually reservation sales colleagues who are out there talking to people, sending emails, making calls, whether you're in marketing, we look to see hopefully bring value to everybody that's on the webinar with me today. And again, we'll stop at a couple of points where I'll try to get some feedback. My goal today is to bring value to everyone, no matter what your role is in the company, and also to all the different types of companies. So we have traditional hotels today. We have a lot of resorts today. We also have quite a few of vacation rental companies. And if you're in the hotel space, you might not be familiar with that. It's privately owned vacation homes, condominiums that are rented out through agencies. So we have inns today. I think we even have some smaller properties, bed and breakfast, and non-traditional lodgings. So it looks like we have the poll results that are in. So we got about 11% of you ended up as president or owner, 34% in management, 45%. So the bulk of my people today on the call are in the frontline order reservation sales role, taking those calls and marketing as well. So we're going to proceed now with hopefully content that will be relevant to those of you who lead the department, who market the department to try to get the calls to ring and the emails to come in the first place. So the first thing I want to address then is our title today, Best Practices for Voice Reservation Sales Follow-Ups. We're going to give you training tips for following up on the calls. Now, we know that we want to try to close the sale when the person rings in the first time. However, a lot of times people are hesitant. So I will be covering a little bit on closing, how to engage people during the call, how to have a conversation, how to allure and entice them. They've already seen pictures today, and we want to allure and entice rather than list, inform, and notify. And of course, asking them to confirm or secure the reservation right now. However, many people do hesitate. And that's kind of our focus today is then what do we do beyond that? A lot of you have been through training with me over the years. I've actually been doing this for 27 years, and I did start very young, Garrett. So many of you have been through classes with me, trained the trainers. If you're a Track customer, you've been through other webinars where we talked about everything we can do to convince that person to book the reservation right here, right now. However, today, we're going to look at a little bit of that, and then we're going to spend most of our bulk of our time on how do you follow up. So whether you have a system like a Track Pulse system that allows you to automate that, or if you're just getting in the game and you want to prove some ROI, I'm going to tell you how to do this through your own systems that you have right now. okay, whether it's a manual or a semi-automated process. But our biggest challenge today in the hospitality space, and hopefully everyone is seeing my screen now. I'm going to get paranoid here and double check. But our biggest challenge, Garrett, as you know, if you attend all the conferences, I know you're going to be at one next week or 2 weeks from now in Savannah, but all the lodging company conferences across all segments are talking about what they call the cost of customer acquisition. Okay, that's a nice way of saying the cost of selling a reservation is too much skimmed off the top before it gets to us. Now, we had, mostly this is selling through the OTA model where we're talking about an online travel agency. I know most of you know we are an industry that loves acronyms, okay? So we take our GDS, we hook them up to the OTAs. People must be really going crazy when they actually start in our industry. We know that last year was the year of Book Direct. So, sorry, now my phone is ringing here. I turned off the mobile phone, but I didn't get rid of the other phone. So, just go all right, now we don't have that problem anymore. If you went to any conferences last year, you know that the big theme was get them to Book Direct. We're spending 15, 20, or more % of the revenue right off the top before we do anything else. So the OTAs are getting a lot of money. Now, when I started working in hotels, I actually worked for the Marriott family when they ran the Marriott Corporation in the 125th Marriott ever. And I remember our general manager complaining because back then we actually wrote travel agency commission checks and it was 10%. And oh my gosh, when he had to sign those checks, they had to, they looked down there and said, oh, look at all this money we're spending. Today, it comes many times right off the top. So all the brands then wanted to reduce their OTA commissions and they launched Book Direct. Okay, they resurrected one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, book, don't click around, book at Hilton, book at Marriott, book at Choice. So a lot of marketing revenue went into this. And yet, what happened to Expedia? I'm just going to flash the bar graph here that you see, and this is through 2016. They had a record year. If you go to this website, the statistics portal, you will see that most of their profit, the biggest contribution, was OTAs. So the online travel agency model, and it did certainly help that they purchased HomeAway. Now, I'm not saying OTAs are the enemy, okay? In fact, in the early years of OTAs, around 1999, the year 2000, the year 2001, my previous company, HSA International, that I co-founded and was the president of, we actually trained people how to sell on OTAs. OTAs are not bad. However, when the guest calls us directly or emails us directly, we want to make them our customer. And that was the original intent of online travel agencies. Go out and find a new customer that didn't know about us, bring them to us. The problem today is it's now an Expedia customer, a Booking.com customer, a Travelocity customer. So they book through them, stay with us, and then next time they book through them. All right, so first of all, we want to look at what OTAs you're using. Now, again, my assistant here, Elise, is going to do another poll, and we're going to look at most of the primary ones. Now, I want you to pick the one that you feel is your primary driver. We know we have a lot of you are on more than one, and I know a lot of you are on resorts and lodges. So I know this poll will be a little bit skewed here because we actually have, if you are on resorts and lodges, please let us know as well. And resorts and lodges is a wonderful model, and I think it is truly a great way to reach a new guest and let them know they're your guest, okay, to own that customer, all right? So it looks like we have our poll. This is actually kind of fun to see it in real time. It almost feels like one of those television game shows where they poll the audience. So I think Family Feud, except my family's not here. So we have Expedia, 47% so far. The polls are still in progress, but again, a lot of you market through multiple OTAs. We know that Expedia is a major driver. Booking.com is a major driver internationally, and we don't have them on the list here today. But we have HomeAway, which is, of course, part of Expedia. We know here in U.S. these are the major ones. So Airbnb, I see a lot of people on Airbnb, and I guess 44% in other. All right. Oh, actually, it looks like you can click more than one, so that's good. I didn't realize that. I've learned something about the polling today. So we have the majority of people on the call today are on Expedia, HomeAway, both in the low 40s. Let's see, yes, we're looking at the results, so everyone is seeing that right now. And then 44% other, I assume a lot of that is the Booking.com or other websites. It is good to see that some of you are also experimenting in the Airbnb game. But regardless of how we get that guest, we want to make them our guest, okay? And that probably, Garrett would be a good choice for another webinar to channel convert them to Booking Direct. But today we're going to talk about the person who shops online and then reaches out. Now, for years, they called this the billboard effect. If you do read industry publications, many of which I do write monthly articles for, I love hotelmarketing.com, you will read where some people say the billboard effect is dead. They want to say that people don't just look on there and then call direct. Perhaps that's because Expedia is so good at increasing revenues. However, when you talk to frontline reservation agents, and that's what I do the majority of my time. Tomorrow I'll be speaking in Wilmington, North Carolina to a leadership conference. I do speak at the VRMA. I'll be at Choice Hotels in May. However, my day-to-day reality is training frontline reservation salespeople on site at hotels, resorts, and smaller call centers. And when I talk to people in my half-day, my full-day classes, and I say, you know, do you ever get those people who are shopping online while they're on the phone? And of course, the answer is all the time. Now, they won't always tell you that, and that's what we're going to look at today. So first and foremost, though, and this is not the digital marketing webinar today, and I know Track could really do a great job on that to help you come up with, you know, improve your website as they've done with mine and help you drive traffic to that website, again, as they've helped me do for my keywords. So, but I'm going to give you just one tip. Now, they can talk to you. I know we have some wonderful expertise there about blogging at your website and about all the, you know, promoting and all that. And many of us, most of us on the webinar today in the leadership role, we know about these, but I know that I know enough about these things to know that I don't know that much about it. So they're really the experts. But I'm going to give you a training tip from Doug Kennedy. Take a look at your website after this webinar today and make sure your phone number is there prominently listed. Do not be one of those companies that hides your phone number. I believe it should be prominent. I like the upper right-hand corner, which is where you'll find mine. And I think you should also add, call us directly for our in-house reservations team. Okay. Now, if you do use a call center, and we have a wonderful one that both Track and KTN are aligned with, Travel Outlook. Some of you actually may be on Travel Outlook today, our reservation sales team. And they do a great job sounding like they're in-house. But if you actually have reservations in-house, you want to mention call directly for our in-house reservations. And then, of course, if you're using Travel Outlook and you do overflow to them, they will sound like in-house reservations. But you want to let them know, because a lot of times when I say to people, you know, in my classes, I say, do you ever get this call? Ring, ring, good afternoon. Thanks for calling Any Hotel, USA. How can I help you? Hello, where are you? I'm right here. Where are you exactly? It might seem at first like a creepy question, like, why are you asking me that? But that is what people want to know, that they get that local area expert, that they feel they're going to get the best information and the best rate. So make sure that you encourage, if you have on site, okay, let's let them know, reach us on site. Now, when they do reach you on site, themes of my other webinars that you've been on, my Track clients and Resorts and Lodges clients that have joined me for those private ones that your company, your vendor partner here provides generously with me, we do address going beyond the scripted reservations, and I'm going to touch on just a few things. So if you don't mind, a couple of repeat comments here that I think are still important. That we want to make sure when they do call that we do not give a scripted description. Why? Because most of the time today they have been online while they're on the phone, or prior to on the phone, because they're calling on the phone they went online on from a smartphone. So a lot of times today you will quote a rate and they will say, yeah, I already know. Okay, or so what we don't want to do is read the scripted description. Now, in the 90s, if you went through training with me or our big competitor then was Signature Training, we kind of both taught the same thing. Find out if they've stayed before. If they have, book them. If they have not, sell them. And we had to give what I would call today the proverbial 30-second commercial. Okay, but today people don't want to hear that because they've already have all the information. The balance of power has shifted to them in a lot of cases, especially if you're in the vacation rental business or if you're at a destination resort where you have all these different accommodation types, all right? So a lot of times what I mean by that is they might know more than you know about the properties that you're describing because they've actually been on those tours. Now, if you would have surveyed marketing people, like I see earlier in the poll, we saw quite a few of your leaders from the marketing department. If I would have surveyed you, let's say 10 years ago this year, the first Apple iPhone came out. And everything was going, had already, laptops became popular around the late 90s, early 2000s. If we would have surveyed you back then when all of a sudden the power of the laptop that I had in 1999 was in my pocket, okay, in 1997 with an iPhone, and we would have said, how many people are still going to be calling in 2017? You probably would have said no one. And yet, however, most of my clients, did see voice declining. Now, if you go to the articles that I write, if you're not getting those, by the way, go to KennedyTrainingNetwork.com. In the upper right-hand corner, by our phone number, you can sign up for my monthly free training newsletter. And I wrote recently about why voice calls are declining. It's not because inquiry is declining, necessarily. A lot of times, the person that used to call would say, hey, what's your fax number? There's no fax number anymore, so they don't call. They used to call and say, how much is the taxi fare? Okay, well, now they know. They go on their app and they get Uber. They used to call and say, are you going to, do you take pets? Do you have cribs? Now, of course, all that's at our website. So voice traffic, overall calls might have declined, but inquiries, I think, have now leveled off, and in some ways they've returned, and that's because, for a few different reasons here, why people will call, which we'll get to in a minute. But now it's time for our next poll question. I think we have this one and one or two more. What are you currently using to manage your incoming calls? So Elise, if you will, put up our poll questions. We have the Navis, which is the legacy system. A lot of you have. It's a fine system. Good people run that. In Oregon, it's a call and lead tracking. Of course, TrackPulse is, I feel, the one that I advocate for. Personally, I think it's easier to use. It is a newer system, and I think easier to train people on. And also, price points are nice. Some of you may be doing nothing at all, and we're going to look at, maybe that's why you're here. Some of you might be using Excel spreadsheets, and other might be, the good old-fashioned word process. Pad and pen, okay, the low-tech word process. So maybe you have call tracking sheets to see who's calling what kind of a call. These systems, like the TrackPulse, allow you to, first of all, track the 800 number. Okay, so whatever 800 numbers you have now, do you know that you own those 800 numbers? Your technology provider doesn't own them. You port them over. Just like if you change from Sprint to Verizon to AT&T. I've had my same mobile phone number since around, well, the late 90s when I got my first mobile phone. You can port that number with you. And then when the calls, with Track, you can assign different calls to different campaigns. But then beyond that, you can actually code what type of calls you're getting. So let's see, poll in progress still, but whether you're doing it through one of the systems that are out there or through a manual system. So our poll results, 7% Navis, great system, 32% TrackPulse. Of course, we have promoted this largely to them as well. 5% Excel spreadsheet, 25% nothing, and 32% other. All right. So it's very interesting now if you track the calls to see, where the calls are coming from by the number, the phone number, that the campaign number. Okay, but beyond that, what kind of calls do we get? How many are service calls? How many people are calling to make sure you got the reservation they booked online? Okay. How many are calling to reconfirm, change, or otherwise service an existing reservation? How many are calling just with questions? Okay. And out of the remainder, you have the calls that we really love the most in reservation cells, which is the reservation inquiry call. So that's where we're going to be skewed to today. Now, we have today, of course, call conversion ratio. That's how many calls did we receive versus how many we booked. All right. Now, that people ask me all the time, Doug, I just got a quick question. What is a good call conversion, my friend? Believe me, that is not a quick question. That question could take some time because there's so many different ways to track where the calls come in and what type of calls you get. And also, it depends on a lot of other factors. So if you're a resort and you have repeat guests that call all the time and you have loyal customer base, your conversion will track higher, okay? If you are a new property that's doing a ton of marketing and you're doing email campaigns with special promotional offers, your conversion might track lower. That's the original conversion, okay? So maybe a good one, and also it depends on what do you call a qualified call. So some people say a qualified call is the one who says I want to book a reservation, okay? Then your conversion will be really high. But most hotels and resorts are going to be in the 20s to 30s, depending on how much competition. You might get up in the 40s, you might get to 50%. What we're talking about here, though, is the ones that don't book on the first call and you then follow up on afterwards with an email and a phone call or both. That's where you see around a minimum of 20% of those people then do follow through and make a reservation. So that's what our second half of our webinar today. First, I'm hopefully going to convince you all either this is worth doing if you're not doing it, or if you are doing it, I'm going to hopefully convince you of why you're doing it and keep doing it, and then I'm going to talk about how we do it hopefully better. So how we do it, constantly looking for ways so that we'll convert more. Now again, Garrett and his team at TrackPulse have on their blog case studies, video interviews where you will see people actually getting considerably more than that. Now this does take some time. Even if it's a completely manual process, I think it's worth it. If you do the math, if you take your average stay times your average rate, that gets you the revenue per guest, okay? Now, for a resort, your revenue is much higher, okay, because people spend money on recreation, spa, activities, dining. If you're a vacation rental, you have a little different model. Your company is paid on a commission off the top, but you also have booking fees and servicing fees. But just take the revenue from one call, okay, and imagine that if we followed up with let's see our numbers here, 20%. If we followed up with 10 people and we got 2 bookings, would it be worth it? And if you do a little time study there, you will find out it's going to be worth it, even if you're in the world of old-fashioned word processor, okay, or Excel, or you know, if you evolve to a level with TrackPulse, which again I think is a wonderful system. So why do people call when they book online, and why is it that sometimes we have to follow up because they're not ready yet? Number one reason, actually 4 main reasons. So there's not necessarily an order in frequency here, but if that was the case, we'd probably go bottom to top. But the biggest opportunity guests are the first 2 you see on the screen, those that are overwhelmed by guest reviews. Okay, and this is depicted by our upper left-hand corner photograph here of a guest, a potential guest, who's online. She's on her iPad, and she decided to visit probably the most popular, definitely the most popular guest review site, TripAdvisor.com. I was just doing training in San Juan, Puerto Rico for International Hospitality Enterprises, perhaps you're on the call today, on February 20th, okay? I did my review on the 21st because I had actually been there as a leisure guest. I was not, I stayed for the weekend first as a leisure guest, and then I was there speaking at a training event separately. So I was a full-paying leisure guest, thus allowed to do a review. Vendors can't do reviews otherwise. And I did the review. I got an email 7 days later. They said something like 2,200 people had read my review. Okay, now mine was a good review, but most of the hotels, resorts, vacation rental companies today, the TripAdvisor review is shared then on Expedia and all the other online travel agencies. And you're not always going to have 5 stars, okay? But the truth is, people read the 5-star and the 1-star, and they get confused. The next picture in the upper right corner is a person that is simply overwhelmed by choices. The more choices you give someone, you think they would be all happy. Oh, yippee, look at all the options I have. In fact, it is stressful, it is overwhelming, and people have a hard time deciding, okay? So a lot of times, these 2 callers at the top, these types of callers will pick up the phone, they'll say, hello, where are you? Are you on site? Oh, good, I have a question. Is it nice? What do they expect you to say? Oh, don't stay here, I only work here. Or which would you pick? Okay, I know most of us would probably be like, I want that standard room with the garden view. But since it's your money, go superior, deluxe, suite view. The value-driven deal seeker, the person who is holding up the phone and saying, I see this rate online. Hopefully, managers, we've empowered our team to, first of all, hopefully managers, we have rate parity, so we're not underselling our own direct website and voice people with an OTA rate that's lower. Okay, unless there's a strategic reason for you to do that to get better positioning on the OTA. Hopefully you're in rate parity. However, if you're out of parity, if you can verify it, you want to match it. Okay, and then finally we have our last type of, and you want to get them to book directly. A lot of the value-driven deal seekers call up and say, hello, just got a question. How was your rate? Okay, thanks a lot, bye. And if you don't engage them, they hang up. And minutes later, that reservation comes through, and you either have to type it in if you're not seamless with your integration, or it comes through and you have to review it and make sure it's accurate. And then finally, we have our multitasking caller, and this is the one who is driving while they're on the phone. Kind of scary. So who is more likely to call? All right. First of all, when the rates are substantial. Okay, now substantial is kind of a subjective thing. I always say the Motel 6 to somebody is the Ritz-Carlton, all right? When I was a kid, we usually stayed in mom and dad's camper, and we went to the state park. When we stayed at a motel, it was like the Ritz-Carlton to us. But the higher your rates are, the more likely they are to call. The longer your stays are, the more likely they are to call. And the more emotionally engaged they are in the travel plan, in other words, their vacation, or leisure, which is the business traveler that includes leisure. Okay, like when I took my family to San Juan on business, I was leisure the weekend before. These are the folks that are going to call, all right? And when they do call, we want to use conversational versus transactional selling. That means we want to engage them in a real question and to find out more about their story. And we'll come to that in just one moment. Transactional is where they call you up and say, hello, I need some help planning my big important travel plans. When is it? How many nights? How many people? How many beds? Here's the price. If that's all we do, we might as well be replaced right now with Siri, Alexa, Cortana, okay? Because Siri, she can do that a lot better, okay? And she never calls in sick. What we want to do is have real conversations with real people and make human connections, all right? So what we want to do then is go beyond scripted descriptions, remembering they've already seen virtual tours, as we said previously. And we also, so a lot of hotels, resorts are still using the 1990s era, okay? Some versions of this criteria are still out there where we simply say, if you stayed before, no, let me give you my sales scripted pitch, all right? Now, I know sometimes there's certain things Forbes might require us to say, or AAA, or if you're a soft brand like Preferred or Leading Hotels, but we still want to go beyond that to sell more than the basics, all right? And that's what we're talking about here, all right? Similarly, though, a lot of people are doing what I call website search support. This is no better, okay? And a lot of the branded call centers, not like a Travel Outlook, that's a very good one, but the major mega brand call centers, you call up and say, it's my honeymoon, and I'm planning my big honeymoon. Person has one honeymoon, hopefully. And they're like, what is it? How many nights? How many people? How many beds? Okay, don't think you're special. You're caller 19. I had 18 before you today, and I got about 22 more before this shit is out. That is website search support. That's to find out the dates and tell them the price, okay? If that's all we do, people, they don't need us anymore. And I guarantee your job will soon be eliminated through AI. Artificial intelligence is coming around the corner. Actually, it's already here. You call up some brands, they're answered by Siri. It's actually Siri's cousin, okay? She can do that job. However, what they can't do is help them decide. And that's what we want to do, all right? So if we ask questions, we unmask the caller's story, all right? And then we're able to sell to that story. So we want to figure out, who are you and why are you calling me? Okay, now I know half of our audience is reservation sales agents. And I know there are days you want to say it just like that. Who are you and why are you calling me? But I'm going to give you a much nicer way to say that, and that's the question right here. As I'm checking those rates, after you got the dates and the number of people and the number of bedrooms, okay, and all the other boxes to check your availability, click enter, and then sit back and ask this question. As I'm checking those rates, are there any questions I can answer for you about our location, about our amenities, or our services, okay? And then you can sell the experience instead of renting rooms, all right? And that's why I bring you to now the value pyramid, okay? And this is how most hotels sell. I'm sorry, this is how we want to sell, where we talk about the destination, location, the amenities, services, and outlets. So if you're a hotel or a resort, that's your restaurant, that's your golf course, that's your spa, that's your bar, that's your tennis, horseback riding. If you're mid-market focus service, okay, that's things in the area. We want to talk about that before we give a price, all right? Here, however, is how most hotels sell. I'm planning my big vacation. When is it? How many nights? How many people? How many beds? Okay, here's the price. Okay, they build their value proposition on a weak foundation. Okay, and then we spend the rest of the call defending that rate. Okay, so it's very easy for it to topple over. Okay, so vacation rental companies, very similar. We want to say, as I'm checking availability, any questions about our location, our amenities? And again, maybe not, you don't have the restaurant there, but you have some of your homes or condos are in communities, they're in condo buildings, they're in developments that have special services, pools, tiki bars, depending on your model. Okay, or if not, you have that fun restaurant across the street, you have the boat rental, you have the ski lift, you have, in the summer, the hiking excursions, whitewater rafting. As I'm checking, do you have any questions for me? Now, a lot of people will be like, no, I'm good, okay? However, some do have questions, all right? This person here says, okay, how many people, how many nights, how many bedrooms? Okay, I got 6 options. Got a pen? Let me tell you them all. Or, what's your email? I'll email you the list of all of them, okay? That doesn't really help us, does it? Help them. Doesn't help us get a sale, doesn't help them decide, all right? Now, as I lead into the meat of this webinar, as we position the importance of follow-up, okay, I first want to say you want to work tenaciously to get them to book right here and right now. I love track calls. I love the idea of sending an email. I love the idea of making a follow-up call. But the best part is if we book them the first time, we don't need all that. Let's try to get them to book right now, okay? So try to close first before you offer to send the email list of accommodations. I do have many clients that even that have other systems that we've talked about, and a lot of times they've had that system for a long time, and what starts to happen, the reservation sales people, when we do telephone mystery shopping, I have a whole team here in South Florida. We do telephone mystery shop. In fact, we would love to mystery shop your team. I'm sure your reservation people would love that, right? Well, it is a great way to learn. And if you've not had training like this and you don't have a track pulse system or something like that, you may find that people too often go first to saying, have you been online? Go to our website, do a search, or what's your email address, and I will email you the list. That's not what we want. We want to say, now I know you said you were just checking rates, but while I have you on the line, I can secure that for you right now. I love that word, secure. Can't I secure that for you? We don't want to say, you want a bucket? Okay? No, I don't want a bucket. I want to keep my money. Can I secure that for you? Okay. That's good when the person says, hi, I don't want to book. I just called with the question. Can I secure it for you? Which of those can I secure for you? This is our either or clause, all right? And then, of course, the person that says that rate is perfect. Okay? How do you spell that, Kennedy? Kennedy, correct? All right, so we're going to try to close them first. Now, a lot of people are like, no, not ready, not just yet, okay? So we will hear they got to check. The wife has to check with the husband. The husband has to check with the wife. They have to check with their friends that they're traveling with, the other family, their cousins, okay? Some will say they have to book their flights. Some will be honest and say, we're going to shop around, all right? Now, at this point, we still don't want to move right to email and calling. We want to say, before I let you go, just to let you know, availability is limited. We can lock this in for you right now, though. While I have you on the line. Sure, I can't lock it in. We can put it on hold for 24 hours, and I will email you a follow-up. Okay, so if you are a resort, the more complicated the trip, the more people involved on the trip, the more they legitimately have to check with someone else, try to put it on hold. If the arrival date is far enough out, let's at least put them on hold. Then we put it in TrackPulse or our little Excel sheet or our book. And we give them a call the next day or 3 days later. Okay? Whether you do it manually or through TrackPulse, you can do this. Now, some people still say no. Besides our first close, besides our second close, no, we're just not ready. All right. That's what we're going to finish up today by talking about. They're still shopping around, perhaps, or the rate is substantial, and they still really want to make sure they get the best value. They're a value-driven deal seeker. They're staying longer. I talked with a vacation rental company yesterday. They're actually in Chicago, and some of their people, most of their guests, are actually not on vacation. They're there for relocating, or they're on month-long projects. They are leisure guests. They're there for the month. However, her husband flies in on the weekends because she's there doing an audit for a company. Larger parties, multiple rooms, the more important the plans are, okay? The fiancé has to talk to the bride-to-be to go over this. So what we want to do right now, okay, if they're not ready, okay, now if you have a system and you're already in the game, you might be saying this. You might be saying, okay, well, if you don't want to book, do you want me to email you a list? Or do you want me to email you a link? And a lot of people are like, no, I'm good. I get enough spam. I don't give out my email. Everybody wants to get your email address. I go to Home Depot. They're sneaky. They're like, oh, would you like your receipt emailed and printed? They want your email, okay? So this is an easy way to say no. Do you want me to email? No, don't email. Okay. Also, it doesn't help them decide. Here's what we want to do in a way. Suggestive selling. Okay. I learned this in the 1980s when I read a lot of books on selling, and it still works today. Okay, Mr. Kennedy, before I let you go, it was wonderful meeting you today, but why don't you let me follow up with a personal email? And don't even forget the why not. Let me start again. Let me follow up with a personal email with information about what we just discussed, and I can give you my contact information for next time. May I have your email address? So tell them why you want it before you ask for it, okay? And if you do that, now you've got them easier to say yes. Do you want me to email you? No, I'm good. Well, I'm going to follow up and send you a recap. What's your email? Okay. Some people will still say no, but your odds of them saying yes are greatly, greatly improved. All right, so suggestive selling. Now, if you want, take a quick picture of your screen if you want that scripting, or be sure to follow up and watch this as a blogcast. And also, I've written other writings about this, but the gist of this is let me follow up with a personal email to recap what we discussed, all right? And now the person that is planning a complicated trip, well, he's got something to review with the bride-to-be. Or the woman that's going there to relocate for a month to do a consulting project, she can send it to her colleagues, okay, to get approval on the trip. Mom planning the summer family reunion with her sister and the other family can email it to her busy sister. They take our email, they forward it on, all right? And then after they give their email, now you want to be sneaky to set it up so you can do that follow-up call. And that's where we're going to also use suggestive selling, right? We're going to say, okay, Mr. Kennedy, I'll send that right over, and I will reach out in a few days to see what else we can do to help you finalize your plans and to get a chance to host you. May I reach you at this number, okay? Because most of you, guess what? You probably have caller ID. TrackPulse, you'll have caller ID. If you have the other systems we mentioned, you'll have caller ID. If you have virtually any phone system today, you've got caller ID. So just say, all right, well, I'm going to email you, and I will reach out again because we want to host your family. We want to host your vacation. We would love to have you spend your honeymoon here, okay? Or if you're relocating, our hotel would be a great choice for an extended stay. We want to have your business. There's a lot to be said for good old-fashioned asking for the business in a humble way. We want your business, okay? So may I reach you at this number, and then state it back. And then they'll let you know if it's a different number, all right? So now we're going to do our final polling question. The drum roll, please. All right, so we have Elise getting our next polling question. What is your biggest challenge during the booking cycle? Okay, now we're talking about the follow-up cycle. When you call, you can't get someone on the phone. It always goes to voicemail. Number 2, nobody returns my follow-up emails. Okay. Number 3, I don't have the right tools for doing that. Or, of course, the catch-all other. You shouldn't really need the other here, okay, unless you're just not doing it yet, I guess, in which case it's not an obstacle yet. So a lot of you now, I see the numbers coming in. It's a race between the red and green. Oh, this is fine. It's like a drag race here. We have a lot of people that are saying they can't get them on the phone, and the number 2 is that there's no returns to the follow-up emails. The third one, by a distant third, is, well, other, but then also they don't have the right tools. So if you don't have the right tools, hopefully I'm going to convince you, take a look at TrackPulse. It's a great system. It costs less than you think. If you look at the case studies they have, it will show an ROI. Some of you may be convinced already, and you have to sell somebody else on this. Or maybe you're not convinced, and I honor that. I'm a business owner too. So get in the game manually, okay? Have your people right now start at the end of the call, may I send you a follow-up, write it down. When you're done, go to Outlook, send them an email, take on a calendar book, okay, or Excel or an Outlook calendar, and put a follow-up note after you send that email to reach out again. And I'm gonna talk specifics on how to do that. But trace it out for a few days, call. Trace it out in a day or 2 more, email, okay? And then see what happens. Then go back to the original list, okay, and do it 100 times for me. And if you do it 100 times, hopefully you're going to see you got 20 additional people that said no to the first close, no to the second close. You followed up with 100 people after that, and you probably got 20 of them if you do this right, okay? So let's see. The poll is closed. The results are being tabulated now. I can already see the clear winner here is that people are not returning your emails. That's what I'm going to help you with next. 44%, no one returns the emails. 36%, you can't get anyone on the phone. 6% don't have the right tools. I've convinced you on that now. 14% are other. All right. So here's what I want you to do to increase your options for converting that person who you send, who you follow up with. So we ask for the sale, they decline. We try to remove barriers and create urgency. Are you sure you cannot? I can't lock that in. We can put it on hold. No, still don't want to. Okay, Mr. Kennedy. Well, allow me to follow up with an email to send you my a recap and my contact details. What is your email address? Okay. If you follow up, what I want you to do next is on your little manual sheet, the 6% who don't have the right tools. I want you to put a note in the follow-up. So trace it out in your Excel sheet or your calendar or your Outlook calendar or your binder, okay? Your spiral binder. Put in there, spoke with Doug Kennedy, planning summer vacation with his daughter, first year back from college, and his daughter's girlfriends, okay? Looking for 3-bedroom or 3 rooms on the beach. Okay, that would be me this summer. And if you follow up with me and you put in details like that, it's going to get my attention, all right? Because I'm planning that trip this summer. My daughter is just back from college, or will be. So document their phone number, their email address, and then put the details into your TrackPulse if you have it, and your Excel spreadsheet if you don't, and your manual sheet if you don't have anything. Put in there, who are they traveling with? The names of the people, the names of the pets, okay? If somebody puts in there, your college daughter, Julia, will have a wonderful time with her friends, I will be blown away, okay? My wife is in love with the dog, okay? My romantic rival for my wife's attention weighs 5 pounds. His name is Maxie. He's a teacup Maltese. And if you put in there, dear Kathy, we would love to host your family, and we welcome pets. I look forward to seeing Maxie. You will have her heart. Put in there the special occasion. Congratulations on your 20th anniversary, okay? A person has one milestone anniversary, hopefully. It's a big deal to them. Congratulations on your daughter completing college or completing high school and going off to college, all right? Anything you learn about their plans, I want you to try. If you're the 36% that can't get them on the phone, we're going to talk about voice. 42%, no one's returning your emails. Paraphrase and restate the first couple of sentences, all right? And that's all we have to do. Paraphrase and restate what you learned and what you have in your TrackPulse comment notes, in your Excel or your manual sheet, okay? And put on there from your authentic conversation, because you took time to say, as I'm checking availability, do you have any questions for me? What brings you in? Anything special you're celebrating? You ask questions, you made a connection, use that in your email, okay? If you simply say, okay, Mr. Kennedy, attached is the list of properties or the list of rooms at a resort, okay? Or if you just pull the templates that you send everyone, you're not going to get the responses. If you want to get as much business as everyone else gets, do what everyone else does. The majority of people who take the next step of following up with an email send the templated response. They change the name only. What you want to do is you want to do better than what they're doing, all right? So, hello, Douglas. Wonderful meeting. And by the way, take a screen cap or get the recording of this webinar. Or you can email me and I'll send you the slides. So you'll have this. So something like this, and you want to make it personalized. It was wonderful meeting you by phone today. How exciting to hear about your daughter and her friends for their beach trip this summer before college. That was the trip I took last year. I'm sure she's going to be delighted with her plans. Below is a recap of the options we discussed, and I've made a note to reach out with you again by phone in a few days to see what questions you have and what else we can do on our end to secure your plan. Okay. So now, below that is your template. The same thing you send everyone else. I will give you a hint though. If you're a resort, do not send more than 3 room types. If you're a vacation rental, generally don't send more than 3 accommodations. If you give them more than 3 choices, you're going to overwhelm them. You can put at the bottom, besides these, we have lots of other terrific options. We'd be glad to help you decide, all right? But don't just email them the whole list, all right? So now we have had a conversation. We found out their story. We tried to close the sale. They rejected us. We followed up with a second close. They still rejected us. We said, let me follow up with an email, Mr. Kennedy, so I can send you the recap of what we discussed with my contact information. What's your email? And we start off that email with these sentences here, okay? If you're not a fast typer, click on that little microphone button, okay? And Cortana will do the typing for you. And so put something personal. It was wonderful hearing about your vacation. We'd love to meet Maxie. Some of you welcome pets at your resorts or your companies. You have pet treats. I've seen that happen with my wife and Maxie. Oh, you must be Maxie. If you're really good at this, you'll put that in the comments field in the reservation. So when they arrive, whoever does reception will know that. Okay, I'm talking for resorts here or vacation rentals that have traditional reception desk models. Some of you send them straight to the accommodation. All right, now, besides the few personalized remarks, a couple of other important tips here as we head up around the corner for our finalization here at the webinar today. Besides the few personalization remarks, recommend, suggest, or endorse the experience and the accommodation, all right? So what do I mean by that? Say something about this would be an excellent choice, all right? And that's where you can include some local insiders tips, all right? Since you're bringing those teenagers, here is a good excursion for them. And that's where you talk about the pontoon boat or the deep sea fishing or the snorkeling trip or the skiing trip or the sledding trip or the tubing trip. If you're a city hotel, you talk about the museum experience or the historic experience, or I'm trying to think of something else fun for teenagers, but something specific to them, all right? Now, we want to follow up. So we don't just want to email and email and email. We don't just want to call and call and call. We want to call and email and call. I would say at least 3 follow-ups. Now, if they respond back and they keep on coming back at you, you can follow up more frequently. So if they say, well, thank you so much, Douglas, for sending that. We're still finding out how many girls are coming on this college last trip of high school before college. So we're not sure. Then keep on following up. You know, let me check back with you, okay. And those of you who are doing this, you will probably have the evidence in your inbox or your folders that people respond in a very warm way. A lot of them say, wow, you really showed you cared, okay? So make sure that you follow up. So email, in TrackPulse, you just put it on your lead stream. In your manual system, put a note when you email, and then put 3 days later to make a phone call, okay? Or in your Excel sheet, all right? And then we're going to call, I would say email first, then call, then email. A minimum of 3 interventions if you want to work tenaciously, and more frequently if they are responding, all right? So talk to them, send an email, trace it out a few days, and send the email as soon as possible. Trace it out a few days later, generally about 3 days, unless the trip is coming up faster, or they say they're deciding right now. My rule of thumb, my best practice is 3 days, make a phone call. Now, 36% of the people are calling, you can't get someone on the phone. Of course, because nobody picks up their phone, okay? I don't pick up my phone unless I know who it is. So that's fine. Make voicemail your friend. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to use a 30-second commercial, all right? So what I want you to do here, take a picture of this one, because what you say in that voicemail is very, very important, okay? What we want to do is start off by stating your company name, and then use your call notes from your TrackPulse window or from your notebook or from your Excel sheet to reference what you heard, okay? Take a snapshot here if you want. Email me for the slide or go to the recording. I will read it for you now, okay? You don't want to be Eeyore. Good afternoon, Mr. Kennedy. It's Doug from Brand X Resort. We want to follow up on the email. There's no two. We are excited. This is Douglas from Brand X Resort. I wanted to reach out again, follow up on our conversation about your summer vacation plans with your daughter and her friends. We would love to have you as our guest. Let me know what we can do on our end to secure a chance to host your family. Okay? And I'll follow up again with an email with my contact information. But again, and then leave your phone number. We want to leave the phone number in there because although they may have caller ID, your company caller ID might have a different number, or they might call in remotely. Usually we listen to voicemail on the device now that we call back on. However, if you get it offline, a lot of voicemail is sent as an audio attachment to email. So that call that came in earlier in the webinar on my office line, my team here picked it up, but if we're out of the office, it reaches me as an email, and it's a voice attachment. So you want to let them know the number, all right? Now, right after, if you get a live person, okay, this is important. Doesn't happen often, maybe 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 times, the person actually picks up. Okay, do not start off with a question or small talk until you remind them of who you are and why you're calling. All right. So I'm going to give you the examples here. You know, people forget. It's 3 days later. Maybe they called a few companies. Maybe their mind is busy because they're multitasking. We never know where someone's at when they pick up the phone. Do not say, "Hello, is this Mrs. Kennedy? Did you get my email?" They're going to be like, "What? Who are you? Why are you calling me?" All right. They're going to be annoyed like the woman you see in the picture here. Okay. So don't start off by asking them questions. First, what we want to do is go ahead and state your name and company, and then go back into that same 30-second commercial that I showed you just a moment ago. So you're going to say, "Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Kennedy. This is Doug from Brand X Resort, and I'm calling to follow up on the email that I sent you regarding your plans for your daughter's college, last trip before college." Okay? And now they're like, "Oh, yeah, yes." Okay, how do I know this? I hear it. I hear it in audio recordings that are being made by agents like you doing follow-up calls that we're talking about. The ones who say, "Is this Mr. Kennedy? Did you get my email?" They get a negative reaction. The one that says, "This is Doug from Brand X Resort. I'm following up on our conversation in my email about your specific plans." Okay. Now, if they're ready, "Yeah, actually, I got that, and I'm ready." Okay, let's get them booked right now. Hopefully that's the case, all right? But a lot of times, they're still not, all right? But if they're not, say, okay, if you got them on the phone, say, "Okay, well, I know you're still doing some checking. I'll reach out again in a few more days to follow up with another email," okay? Or if you like, I can call you back. "Would you like me to call you tomorrow, Mr. Kennedy?" All right? So you can ask them if they prefer a call or email at that point if you got a live person. If you get voicemail, leave your voicemail and tell them you will follow up again in a few days if you've not heard back from them, okay? Now this time, when you follow up, this time you want to follow up by going to your sent messages, if you're using Outlook, or it's a little easier with Track. Resend what you already sent, okay, from your sent messages, resend it. This time, just put in, forward it on, and at the top say, "Just a quick follow-up on our previous conversation and my correspondence below." All right? I know we're just a couple minutes over, but we're almost done here. A couple of key points. If you have time, please hang in there with me. If they're responding or they're planning an especially complex trip, multiple people, longer stays, multiple rooms, keep on following up. But generally, 3 follow-ups is a good best practice, all right? Now, when you do follow up, a couple of seemingly minor points, but do not ever, ever throw guilt at your prospect. Avoid saying, "Mr. Kennedy, I'm just following up. I didn't hear back from you. Since you didn't respond to my other email," okay? Never, ever remind them that you emailed, you called, and you're emailing again. Make it sound like it's the first time. Just a quick note to follow up on my previous correspondence, because we would love to have you as our guest. So just as you would love to have them as your guest, I love having you as my guest. I hope that you have found value in our webinar today. If you do have questions about Track, you may reach them at Garrett, my friend Garrett, who is on earlier in the call today, to reach him personally. He is a wonderful patient explainer of these systems. If you're new to all this, if you're using another company, I highly recommend you reach out. And technology changes fast, and this is an updated system. The price points are excellent. If you have questions on the webinar, there's my email address for you, and you can also, any questions if you have copies of the slide. If you agree with something and you found value, let me know. If you disagree and you try this and it doesn't work, let me know that too. I get my best ideas from over half the people here, from the people like over half the people on the webinar today, my frontline reservation agents. So you can find more information about our mystery shopping, our training. We also do private live webinars like this just for your on-site people, one-on-one or small group. And I also come out, if you're a Track customer, of course, you get significant discounts on our KTN training services. So with that in mind, I again thank you, and I'm not sure if we have any closing remarks from our Track Pulse folks. If you do, please come on. And I thank you all for joining us for the webinar today. Please stay tuned. If you're a Track customer, you'll be getting, in Resorts and Lodges, you'll be getting information about our webinar that we do about every other month. For those of you who are not, we do these open market ones a couple of times a year where we reach out to everyone in the industry. So please stay tuned if you got the notice on this, and you'll be notified. Or just email me if you'd like additional details. So thank you very much, everyone, for giving me 1 hour of your busy Tuesday. Wherever you are, have a wonderful day, and happy converting.